Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 405. Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
There we go. Kentucky Downs. We are back. As several people have commented, are concluding to comment. Continue to comment. Kentucky Downs is a tough track. We said this at the start, Mike. You only have to hit it once to make up for it, but yet that you might only hit it once.
Yeah, I mean, you look at yesterday's late pick 5 paying over $6,000, completely hittable, right? I mean, there's sequences that pay out big bucks for a cheap, not for a low denomination. That 50-cent pick 5, 14% takeout. You got big fields, big prices, and a lot of directions you can go in a lot of these races. Ironically, we say that 4 races that we pick could all chalk out here. We could have favorites win each one of these legs. It's tough to get around a couple of them. We're going to try our best to do so. I'm throwing one of them out. You got to try and get a little bit creative. But this is a sequence where you got to also be careful because you don't want to be putting together a $200 pick 4 ticket, a $100 pick 4 ticket when you have these type of sequences where it could easily chalk out here. So you got to be a little creative in how you're structuring this thing.
It was, kind of sad that the rough weather that they had in Kentucky that forced them to cancel and move some cards around. But that does make it so, this Saturday card, assuming they get to run, because I know they're expecting rain on this Saturday too. But you got the Mint Million, which was the feature race last week. That's race 5. Kentucky Downs on Saturday. There's 2 Breeders' Cup winning urine races, both of which we're going to be covering. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I went with a $36 ticket. Yours is $24. We're going a little short here. We try and do that with Kentucky Downs, but if you're watching, let us know in the chat, what horses that you like. I know that when we did the preview for the opening day Thursday show, or the Thursday card, I should say, I think if you just used the chat, we would have put together a winning ticket because the chat was pretty on point with these races, Mike.
Yeah, I think Nick Feldman particularly crushed it. I think he had 3 of the 4 winners on top that he gave out there. So yeah, look, this is a great one to look at opinions, why someone likes horses, because there's a lot of directions you can go in these Kentucky Downs races.
All right, we're going to take a look at the late pick 4 Kentucky Downs on Saturday, September 10th. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, Mike, here we go. Kicking off the late pick 4 Kentucky Downs Saturday, September 10th. Race 9 is the Grade 2 $1 million turf sprint for 12 older males. 3 also eligibles in here. They're all going 6 furlongs. It's a Breeders' Cup winning urine for the turf sprint. And this is interesting because when they go 6.5, Mike, they had that little jaunt to the right before the big sweeping left. When they go 6, they're pretty much starting on top of the turn. So you would think a horse like Arrest Me Red, who's your 9-5 favorite, drew all the way in post 12. You'd think that'd be a bad spot for him, but Wesley Ward's excited about it. Are you?
No, I'm not. And I think that this might just be part of Wesley Ward trying to talk himself into being okay for this because, look, I'm not going to use Arrest Me Red here. You got to throw out one of these favorites in my mind, or at least try and get creative to get around them. You have 4 heavy favorites in 4 races, all of which are deserving favorites too. Like Arrest Me Red on paper is probably the best horse in here, but I think there's a couple more interesting prices that you can use, and I'm not going to play all 4 favorites. I got to pick one to try and beat, and to me, Arrest Me Red, coming out of the 12th post, who wants to be forwardly placed, and there's a lot of other speed in this race, can hang this horse wide that entire turn. Speed is a little tough, especially at this 6.5 furlong distance. I'm just hoping that the wall hits this horse coming down the lane, and we're able to get to someone to run by him in that last half furlong.
Listen, this is the very last horse that made it on my ticket. I was at 24 and I went to 36 adding this horse on because Wesley Ward seems excited not only about this horse's post, which I think might be a little BS, but it says he's got him fully cranked and sitting on a big one. Irad's going to hop aboard. If you were going to take a shot against a favorite, take a shot against him. That the post is very dangerous for him, or very detrimental to him, I should say. Top pick for me. I don't know about you, Mike. I'm going with the number 2 Chewing Gum at 5-1. I thought this horse has a really great draw here. Second off the layoff after he lost to a really tough sprinter in Filo Di Ariana last time out, which you, by the way, had Filo winning that race. Rosario's picking up the mount here. He was last year's leading rider at Kentucky Downs. He only shows up for a few days, the big days. This is a very big one, Mike. I think he's sitting on a big one. This horse broke the maiden going a mile over the course, so we know they can handle kind of the quirky layout. And you forgive him for the terrible effort in this race last year. He was buried in post 10, which again led me to want to play against Arrest Me Red originally. I think this inside 2 post for him, saving ground, is perfect.
Yeah, I looked at Chewing Gum for a while. The price to me is just a little too short in this size of a field. I feel like he should be 10, 15 to 1 range versus the 5 to 1 range. I think with Rosario and Mott, he's going to take quite a bit of money. And I go through it and like you try and find a race that's good enough to win it. Really, the Jaipur that he ran back in 2021 could beat this field. Outside of that, there's just not a ton. And then the other races were like, oh, that one maybe he lost to Arrest Me Red, who I'm not going to use. So for me, I decided to go a couple other directions and get a little bit more creative here. I ended up with the 5, Arzak on top. I guess not really much more creative since it's 9-2 versus 5 to 1. But Arzak's race, the last one I thought was sneaky good, running a good 4th behind Golden Pal, was making up ground late. Thin White Duke came back to win out of that race. You go back, 2 back, loses the Highlander, and it's a tough loss, really. Came from off the pace, spoke from the 11 post that day, and gets nailed by Bound for Nowhere in the last few strides. There's some races here that all fit. I like what this horse has done since he's turned 4. This is a Not This Time, one of those sires that I really like. 4 good efforts, 4 solid efforts since turning 4. And I like the fact that we tried a mile a couple times. So I'm not as concerned about this 6.5 furlong distance. I want this type of running style in this spot with a horse coming from off the pace. And I like the fact that Kimura, who's your best jockey in Toronto at Woodbine, comes down to ride this horse today. So give me the 5 Arzak on top.
Yeah, pretty notable as well. On my second pick in here, I went pretty chalky. I went about 2-5-12 here, but you also you mentioned he lost to Bound for Nowhere by a length, and Bound for Nowhere be a very short price in this race. He was less than a length behind Golden Pal last out. What is Golden Pal if he's at back at Kentucky Downs? So 2 very, very good Wesley Ward sprinters that he faced. Now he's got to face another third one here in Arrest Me Red, but I feel like of those 3, maybe this is his best chance winning. Yeah, I definitely don't hate that. And like you said, Kimura rode him twice to victory at Woodbine and then almost won the Highlander 2 back when Bound for Nowhere beat him. So like I said, I'm 2-5-12. Where else are you going in this race?
I got a little crazy after that. I went with horses that are 10 to 1, 15 to 1, and 12 to 1 here in this spot outside of the 5. We'll start with the 9, Front Run the Fed. This is another horse that likes Kentucky Downs. I mean, you go back and you look at that turf sprint, though. I actually thought that was actually a pretty good race from this horse, ending up only 3 lengths behind Gear Jockey that day, got a 96 buyer. But if you go back to the turf sprint 2 years ago in 2020, just misses to Imperious by a neck, and that's when Imperious was a monster. So 2 very good races over this track in my mind. We're getting 3rd off a layoff for this 6-year-old. I like what this horse has done the last 2. It was able to win and then runs behind Casa Creed and the grade 1 4-star David a mile. I think the 6.5 furlong fits well. I like the 15 to 1 price. I like the fields we're coming out of. I like the consistency that we've seen from Front Run the Fed. I think he'll be right there. I'm hoping that we can get a nice price there at 15 to 1 on Front Run the Fed. Do you even consider Front Run the Fed, or that was a total pass for you?
To me, there's one race where I can point and say, hey, this is the one where he could win, and it was when he was on Lasix at Colonial Downs going 5.5. I don't think this is a good spot. I don't think the fact that Chad Brown gave up on this horse, last year, this used to be a Chad Brown Klarovich horse, and they just gave up on him. You go to Kale Karamari, who's 16% on the year. He's not a graded stakes type trainer. He's not a Breeders' Cup, turf sprint style trainer. So I think he's in too far over his head here.
That's fair. Next up for me was a 7 Gregorian Chant, and this is another horse.
You're going to use that horse.
Look, this to me is a good fit for this horse. I liked this horse going longer, but the fit here is what's key. The 6.5.
You thought he was a good fit in the Jaipur too. I'm never going to let you live that down.
I thought he was a good fit in the Jaipur too. Yeah, I know that. That's okay though. That's okay because we used Casa Creed in that spot. We had the winner. Look, this 6.5 furlong distance hits Gregorian Chant right between the eyes. We're talking about distance and horses that kind of fit here. Gregorian Chant does. Brand, who had beaten Gregorian Chant, lost to him going a mile at Del Mar last time out. This is more like a mile race, and this is the style that Gregorian Chant has. The style that he has is what you're looking for to win this type of race. He likes these type of courses. He likes these little funky things. He loves the downhill at Santa Anita, for instance. And then he was going 1.5 miles early in his career. Stamina is not an issue here for Gregorian Chant. He can sit back and make one big run. And this is a big, long stretch where you watch these 6.5 furlong races today. You just see horses get tired going that final furlong at Kentucky Downs. He's the one that can just fly by everyone if everyone is getting tired. And so I like the 7 Gregorian Chant because of those reasons. The last one I'm going to use is the 10 horse Totally Boss. was the favorite last time in the local prep for this over at Ellis Park, the $100,000 turf sprint. Ends up running a decent fourth, but was hung wide that day, had an inside draw and ended up wide, which is kind of wild when you actually go back and you watch the race. This is a horse that needed one in my mind. When you go back and you watch it, just looks like a horse at 7 that needed one off a long layoff. It's a pretty lightly raced 7-year-old when you look at it as well. 22 starts, but only this will only be his 4th start of 2021 or 2022. This was the target. That wasn't the target. And so for me, I think you're going to see a better effort here from Totally Boss, who again has 101 buyer to talk about here at Kentucky Downs, has run well at the track before. So I'll take a shot at 12-1 with Totally Boss as well.
Boy, I looked at him. I'm not going to trust Florent Giroux. The guy is just riding terribly. Now this horse to me, I think he's just not. He's a step below what he was. I like your 10 and your 7 both is hitting the board for underneath for exotics. I think they're going to be coming. The 10's got the success over the track, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I didn't use charcoal. Although I don't know about you. I definitely used all in sync in a race we're going to talk about later here. So like I said, with Totally Boss, maybe if you had like an Ortiz brother aboard, I'd like him, or maybe Brian Hernandez. Florent Giroux is kind of a difference maker for me in a bad way.
I don't know, man. Giroux's got at least one win today at Kentucky Downs.
Oh, did he finally get one? Okay.
He got. I remember seeing his name on top because I ran second to him. So he's got at least one.
He got one. All right. So he's off the schneid there. But yeah, plenty of different ways to go here. Hey, nobody in the chat is disagreeing with us. That means we get to move on. Second leg of the late pick for Saturday, September 10th at Kentucky Downs. This is the Kentucky Turf Cup. 1.5 mile race here. Breeders' Cup winner in for the Breeders' Cup Turf. 12 older males, 1 also eligible. Heavy favorite in Gufo, number 8, 7-5 on the morning line. It's crazy because we just saw him win the Sword Dancer 2 weeks ago, and now he ships to Kentucky Downs for the first time. He doesn't need the win in you're in. You don't need the money because they're already aiming at the Turf Classic at Aqueduct. So I don't know. It's weird that he's here. Did you use him?
I did, because this is I want to play against Gufo with every fiber of my soul, because you get 7-5 here in a big field, but don't confuse quantity with quality here. This field sucks. Like, this is not a great field at all, especially when you see what Gufo has been facing the last few. I went short here. Arklow loves this track. Arklow has run 4 times here, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. We talked about it before. You can't leave this horse off your ticket. Gufo is clearly the best horse. Who else can you use? Another mystery, highest honors? Like, where else are you going to go in this field? That was, for me, the biggest struggle, because I'm not playing Glen County. I'm not playing Admission Office. I'm not playing Temple. I'm not playing Red Knight, right? And so all of a sudden, you're drawing all these lines through these horses, and you really get left with Arco and Gufo. And then you look at this racetrack, and we talk about how Gufo makes his own trouble sometimes, and that's how he gets beat. You know, it's these funky trips that he gets. He's not going to get a funky trip at Kentucky Downs. It's like this track was made for him, because he can sit way back and not make his run until they hit the top of the stretch. He still has plenty of time to go buy all of these horses. So, this is one of those where I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Rosario shouldn't get this horse in trouble. It should be pretty easy to keep him out of trouble, even in a 12-horse field. So it's just like, I'm going to end up with Gufo on top, and I actually put Arklow on top, but I'm going to end up with Gufo and Arklow as the 2 horses I'm going to use, because you know what? The rest of these aren't that good.
I'm going to agree with Shadi and Mike. I'll use Arklow over Gufo. Those are my top 2 picks. I mean, Arklow, let's talk about this. 2018, he comes here. He wins this race. 2019, he's second. 2020, he wins it. Last year, he's second. So history dictates he's going to win it. But also, like, that race, was it the Bowling Green? He was my pick. I had him singled in that race in a bunch of stuff. And I thought he ran the best race in that. And he was coming off of a long break. Just had some asshole beat him. We're not going to name that asshole. We don't talk about him on this show. But I thought the Arklow, and it was a perfect, Brad Cox, it was the perfect setup for this race. If there's an upset, and I was trying to find a price play because I did use the chalk in all 4 legs here. If there's an upset, I'm going to go with the real horse, Red Knight. If you look at this horse's resume from 2021 before, so from his 7-year-old year backwards, that looks exactly like a Mike Maker trainee. Going long on turf, steady performer, usually gives his best in these spots. That was with Bill Mott. Wait, you never think Bill Mott going long on the turf for, an old veteran like this in Red Knight. So then he goes to Mike Maker's barn for this 8-year-old season, 8 years old. They wait until July because Maker's thinking Kentucky Downs, because he's the all-time winningest trainer here. He's won this race more than any trainer as well. He's got 4 in here. I think this is his best shot. The horse wins the Colonial Cup. You see in the notes, it says steady early, bid 4 wide. He got pinched back a little bit. And then the 4 wide trip, I mean, he was basically getting popcorn from the fans at one point coming off the turn. And he won comfortably after being gone for 11 months. You talk about Arklow with that being a setup. This Colonial Cup was exactly a setup for this race. Now, is he good enough? We'll find out. He was second to Arklow in this race 2 years ago. I think he's good enough. It's just, does Arklow show up? That's the big question.
I wish he wasn't 8. I wish he was 5. I wish that I could make an argument that you have upside here with this horse, right? Because you got to go back to a career best effort to beat both of those. Now, the upside argument would be its maker and maker going long versus not going long, as you mentioned, is the differentiator there. You get Corrales aboard, which usually a pretty good sign when it's maker.
Second leading rider at the meet right now, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's arguments that you could definitely make for Red Knight. For me, he's a couple low, and I want to try and keep this ticket as short as possible. If I don't think that you can get by these two, I'm not going to try and just throw prices in. The 1 in the 10 would be my 3rd and 4th selections, by the way. The one who won that race, the 10, another mystery, who picks up Irad Ortiz and loves running at 1.5 miles, who came in second behind Red Knight last time they faced each other. Those would be the next 2 for me. But that kind of tells you how bad the rest of this field is that those are the next 2 for me, because it would take a massive improvement from Red Knight to be able to get by Arklow and then not get run down by Gufo. And that's what he'll have to do here in this stretch. And so this was just a tough race to get creative with for me. Like, I even thought about highest honors for Chad Brownaway on the outside, but no. And then there was Rogue Element that I looked at. It's 30-1. But I just kind of kept going back to the fact that Gufo and Arklow tower over this field. And you got to go one direction or the other. Now, if you want to play a press ticket here and press Arklow, that could be a way to try and make some money throughout this sequence, because then you're knocking Gufo out and you got a shot at getting a middling price and making a call or decision between these two.
I was just looking at the 12 horse highest honors, because Jalen, our buddy Jalen in the chat, likes the 12 highest honors. 12-1 morning line with Tyler Gaffleon and Chad Brown. First of all, terrible name highest honors when it's by tap it out of a damn name Tap Your Feet. And you've got tap twice and you don't use tap anywhere. That's terrible.
Tap-a-roo.
I mean, tappity tap. There's all sorts of fun you could have had there. Listen, the horse's last 4 starts were all on turf. It's weird to me, and I think we talked about this horse at the beginning of the year back at Gulfstream. Mike, why did Chad Brown wait so long to put this horse on turf? I don't like that in the Grand Cartier his last time out, he went backwards against Channel Maker. It's not usually a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is the argument. Is like the race 2 back at Churchill, a significantly worse field, right, than this. Like Cellist would not be anywhere close to the favorite in this field, right? I mean, you look at even Soldiers Rising and Channel Maker. Like, if Channel Maker's in here, he's the 3rd choice, and he dusted.
And we're not using him.
Yeah, and we're not using him. So it's like I can't, because of the class this horse has faced the last 2 times. I can't use him now. Obviously, it's Chad Brown. It's 12-1. So it's when you get pissed at yourself when this horse wins, right? But for me, again, it's just like, there's no brace to point to. And it's not like we haven't seen him on the turf enough now to say there's not going to be this massive jump that's just unexpected. And that to me is where I can't find another horse I think could jump up and get these 2. I wish I could, but to me, there's significant knocks with everybody else.
Michael Austin says, I hate you. Really want to go 8-12 using Gufo and highest honors, but Arklow is really good. Jalen throwing around the old man comment about Arklow. Listen, there's a chance for an upset. We're going to, I'm taking a slight shot. Mike's not going for it, but I think let's see what you do here in this next one, Mike. The penultimate leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Kentucky Downs on Saturday, September 10th. Race 11 is the grade 3, $600,000 ladies sprint stakes for 12 older fillies and mares going 6.5 furlongs. Why they go 6.5 and the boys went 6, I don't understand. Big favorite here, number 10, Campanelli, 8-5 favorite. Wesley Ward, Irad Ortiz Jr., a multiple group stakes winner overseas. She's 0-2 in North American graded stakes races. Does she go 0-3?
Man, this is tight. I do have Campanelli on top, but I think she's beatable here. The one race that wins this race wins it by open lengths. Every other race doesn't get the job done here, and that is why she's one of those I think you can take a shot against if you want to play against her here. I do respect the heck out of Wesley Ward, and especially when you get Irad and in these type of races, these horses normally show up, and a lot of times it doesn't really matter what figures they ran earlier. They're able to get the job done in these spots. I would expect you're going to see a very good effort from Campanelli, but Why don't we talk a little bit about our best friend, number 7 horse, She Can't Sing? As I'm interested in She Can't Sing in this spot at 15-1 on the morning line. Block and Loveberry bringing this horse here to Kentucky Downs. This is one that's going to love that 6.5 furlong distance. This 6.5 is going to be good for She Can't Sing, who had success at Fairgrounds, a really funky couple of races there, back to back, beating horses like Plastic Plate, Anabscon, Gam's Mission. Now you're cutting back in the distance, and note that they sprinted this horse the first 3 times that she was on turf. So they thought she was a sprinter. Then they stretched her out, had some success, and now we're cutting her back to a sprint distance, but at a place where it's a little bit more of that middling distance, right? So this is kind of like that 7.5 mile type distance for a horse that can close ground late, should get the setup because there's a ton of pace in here. So I'm going to take a little bit of a shot with She Can't Sing.
She actually didn't start sprinting until halfway through her 3-year-old season. You got to expand those PPs there.
Yeah, well, I didn't expand them.
They actually started her out routing on turf twice. Do you want to change that argument?
No, because I still think they started her in stakes races sprinting.
There you go. Yeah. Don't want anything to do with her here. Not interested in her. I think her absolute best is, we know what it is, and it's not good enough to beat a lot of these other horses' best. So
I would disagree with that comment. Sure, her from a number perspective, her best is as good as anyone in here, except Champanelli's one race.
Who else are you using?
I'm going to use the 3-horse Jouster, who I think, again, this is the right distance for Jouster. Had some success going a mile, but I think it's just as better sprinter. That's what we saw back at Keeneland, ran 6th behind Champanelli, but that was the first time this horse was sprinting. This 6.5 furlong distance, again, I've been harping on this entire show. I'm at Kentucky Downs. I'm looking for horses that I think will flourish at this 6.5 furlong distance, which is a little bit longer than everywhere else. Jouster is one of those that I think will do just that, because you're going to be able to, you have a mile pedigree that's cutting back, that has shown speed, that's improved since it got to the barn. So I think Jouster's got a good shot in here as well.
I looked at her pretty close. I didn't end up using her, but again, the fact that they had, look at the splits for the De La Rose, 24-2, 49-1, and then she just fell right off. She couldn't sustain that. It almost finished like a sprint race there. So if that's kind of what happens in this spot where she gets to be on those slower early fractions, the sprinters are going to chase her down and get her. So I'm not going to use her. Campanelli was my top pick here. It's just a question of, can she get the right trip, and can she get that one race in America? Can she repeat that, or her overseas efforts? I went too deep. The other horse I used, the number 6, Toby's Heart, 15-1. Last time out in the Distaff Turf Sprint, finishes behind 2 other horses in here. But first of all, Creative Credit is a speedster who I don't think neither of us are using. I don't think I think she can handle this distance at Kentucky Downs. Yep. She went gate to wire. There was no catching her, especially when you're trying to come from 5 lengths off and 5.5 furlong sprint. She missed second to Brooke Marie by a head. Brooke Marie is one of her stablemates who she's finished behind a couple of times. Hopefully doesn't finish behind her here, but she won the Music City Stakes here last year, so she has success over the course. That was against the 3-year-old. She was favored to do that. She was a good third in the Grade 2 Monrovia to start off her 4-year-old campaign. Again, Brooke Marie went gate to wire, so she had a winning stablemate she had a winning horse that she had to face again in Brooke Marie. But I really think this horse, she's coming into her own. I think this is a track where she's not coming back into her own, at a track where she's had success. It's going to take a career best effort, but as a 4-year-old, halfway through at a track that she loves. I mean, she's had the 92 buyer here as a 3-year-old. She had a 94 earlier at Churchill Downs. It's a stretch, but it's Kentucky Downs. If one track can do it to her, I'm going to bank that it's this.
Yeah, this is a Beskiza problem with me. There's been a lot of quality jockeys that have ridden this horse that are in this race that are not riding this horse. And so that to me was a kind of a red flag, because you've had Jose Ortiz on this horse. You've had Rosario on this horse. Castellano's been there. Velasquez has been there. And you end up with Beskiza. It kind of tells you that the jockeys think this one is a cut below the others. And so you're right. You can point to that one Kentucky Downs race and make the same argument that she can go back to that, and no horse in here besides Campanelli can really tower over that. But I would pass on her.
How about In Good Spirits, Dr. Tang? And I saw Vashon Welch also brought up the 11 horse, Al Stalla Jr., 6-1 with Johnny Velasquez. What do you think about this horse?
I didn't end up using this horse, but I do think it's interesting. For me, the problem was like, how is In Good Spirits going to win? I guess you point back to the Lady Secret with this horse won and say, okay, we're going to try and stalk from that outside post, kind of sit behind the speed and be able to make a run. Yeah, it's definitely possible. As my power flickers on and out, I'm not sure how we still have internet, but we'll take it. It's definitely possible that, you see the light go off. It's definitely possible that the In Good Spirits can get it done here. The 6-1 price is what kind of caught me off guard. I was looking for something bigger than that on her. But you got a race you can point to, right?
Well, and it was over this track, and it was the same argument I used for Toby's Heart. So if I'm not going to turn you down. The 6-1 price, maybe hope for a little bit better than that, but we also see what kind of money Campanelli gets. But Jalen, just as you were listing off all the jockeys that have ridden, and you're like, now you're stuck with Beschizza, Jalen says, yet I ride Johnny V, Jose Ortiz, Lepru, Rosario, and Bejarano, and you're picking a horse ridden by Loveberry. I
am. Look, I don't mind Loveberry. And he's ridden this horse consistently. He's got 3 wins out of the last 4 rides. Castellano's ridden this horse twice. He's 1 for 2 on her. So when it's someone like Chris Block who uses Loveberry a lot, I don't mind that Loveberry comes in for this race and runs here and rides here, right? It's this, that to me is different than when you have, when this is really, She Can't Sing's rider in a lot of ways, right? It's different for me versus when you've had 8, 9 different riders on a horse and the worst one is the one that's riding it again today.
All right, Mike, let's move on. 4th and final leg of the late pick 4 at Kentucky Downs, Saturday, September 10th. Race 12 is the grade 2, $600,000 Franklin Simpson Stakes. 12 3-year-old boys plus 4 also eligible is going 6.5 furlongs. You've got another big favorite here, the number 6, Big Invasion, 8-5 favorite. Finished second on debut, and then all he did after that in January, 6 straight scores, including 5 in stakes, all of them in turf sprints. At some point, the bubble's going to burst on this horse, you would think, but he's already beaten a lot of these horses before and beaten them pretty good. He's got the most weight, but I really don't know that there's. How do you take a shot against this horse? He's my top pick.
It's interesting. We talked about jockeys recently, like last race. We had this argument on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, we had a ton of comments about Rosario and his don't fall off rides. 2 of his don't fall off rides in stakes races were on Big Invasion. I mean, he did not have to do anything to win both of those stakes races on Big Invasion during that Saratoga meet. The grade 3 quick call and then the Mahoney for 150,000. Big Invasion was dominant. Dominant is insulting Big Invasion of how easily he won both those races, both in total hand rides. And a lot of the horses he's coming back and facing, they're all here and they're not going to beat him, right? So you have to pick a new shooter if you're going to take a chance. I'm going to get kooky here. Give me the 3. Tejano Twist is my other horse I'm going to use in this spot. Yep, I figured that would be the face I get, but hear me out. I don't want anyone else who's faced Big Invasion. That eliminates about half the field. I don't have any interest in All in Sync. I don't have any interest in Call Me Midnight, who are coming out of the Ellis prep for this. So that takes those 2 out. Tejano Twist, last time out, was only his 2nd time over a turf course. Went a mile at Ellis. I thought ran a sneaky good race behind Gray's Fable and against older horses. Now we're getting back to 3-year-olds. We're cutting back. We got a chance to improve big time. I'm hoping we can take a step forward here with Tejano Twist and Hartman. I'm only going to go 2 deep. I'm going to use the 1 bomb price. This is only the 3rd time in this barn. They went to the Max Field and then went right into a 2nd stakes race with it, so they think highly of it. I'm hoping this 6.5 furlong on the turf is what hits Tejano Twist right between the eyes here, and we can get a huge bomb home. I have no interest in playing one at a short price here because of Big Invasion and how good he is.
Okay. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Tejano Twist. If you were going to tell me that you were going to use a horse that faced Epicenter on the Kentucky Derby Trail in this race, this is not the one I would have thought you were going to mention. I really would have thought you would have used Call Me Midnight or something. Wow. Okay. Didn't see that coming. Next up for me is going to be the 5 All in Sync. Steve Asmussen is only 1 for 14 at the meet. I know it's Steve Asmussen on the turf, but horse brings a 2-race win streak into this, including last time out in the Turf Sprint Stakes, which is a prep for not this, but for race 9 that we covered earlier. And who did he beat? Charcoal, who's in that race. Totally Boss, who you used in that race. This is a 3-year-old in his turf debut who beat older horses at Ellis Park in a prep for a Breeders' Cup win, and you're in. He's in this race at 10-1. I'm getting Brian Hernandez Jr. aboard, who's 16% normally for Steve Asmussen. So I really think this horse is sitting on a big one at 10-1.
Yeah, I mean, you're picking up 4 pounds. You were 23-1 in that spot. That screams fluke to me here, where you like that specific race, especially since the favorite had trouble. I get it. I get why. I think you need like 30 to 1. Honestly, on All Instinct to be able to make an argument to play him, and that's the main reason I didn't end up there.
That's fair. Next one for me, I went with the number 10 asymmetric at 8 to 1. One of the he's faced and lost to Big Invasion twice. Why does Wesley Ward put him in against Big Invasion if he thinks that he's just going to keep losing? We're getting Irad Ortiz Jr. back aboard. If you watch the Paradise Creek, the horse was extremely rank. Irad just let him go, took the blinkers off. That wasn't a great move for him. They try and return back to when Jamie Spencer gets aboard for the quick call, it went back to the horse's original running style when he was so successful at 2 sprinting overseas, which is to come from the behind. Problem was there just wasn't enough to try and get down, and he let Big Invasion get way ahead of him. And that was the big problem. Irad is not going to let Big Invasion get the jump on him. He's going to make sure that Big Invasion's in his sights and is closer. I'm now getting 8 to 1 instead of 9 to 5 or 5 to 2 when he was the second choice both times. Irad getting back aboard and some nice workouts at Saratoga on the turf course after that race tells me this horse is still good. Wesley Ward's putting him in here against Big Invasion for a third straight time for a reason. There's no reason for him to keep trying to lose to Big Invasion and not go somewhere else to get a win with this horse.
Yeah, the 2-year-old efforts at Newmarket and Dalville were excellent as well against Perfect Power, who's an elite sprinter, especially in that 2-year-old year over there in Europe. So was facing phenomenal horses over in Europe. The last 2 efforts, it's just like you probably didn't like either ride. I mean, you mentioned you ran off in the first one, was too far back in the second one, kind of late to make a move. You're hoping you get a middle ride, like kind of somewhere in this, because you don't want the lead in this spot, but you don't also want to be coming from too far back. So, yeah, look, again, this is one where the 8 to 1 price is what I can't handle. I think the horse has a shot at winning. I just think the horse is going to be overbet in this spot.
What do you think Big Invasion goes off at realistically? Because for me, with his hot streak, I'm thinking like 4 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 was what my immediate thought. So I bet you're getting around 4 to 5 in this spot, because there's also no other horse that's like just going to pull in all the money, right? You don't have a second horse that's going to make this really competitive. It's a lot of horses you have to make you have to come up with reasons for why you're going to talk yourself into liking them over Big Invasion. Like coinage, you could talk yourself into coinage if you really wanted to, cutting back in distance and saying, oh, well, this 6.5 furlong is going to hit this horse right between the eyes, but for me, it looks so tough to beat a horse like this on paper. Sumter is another one some people are going to use. I would think that Sumter's probably going off as your second choice. Neither of us are using this horse. For me, it was the West Coast to East Coast thing. Same reasoning on your side?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want a California horse anywhere around here. Yeah, no, I don't want him out here. I had one more horse I used. The last one for me is the number 4, Heaven Street, 30 to 1. And it's because in this entire field, one horse has experience over this track. It's Heaven Street, broke his maiden here, going a mile, so he can handle the course. He actually won it by almost 3 lengths. So not only did he handle it, he flourished on it. He's going to be third off the bench, third time with Brendan Walsh. Something kind of funky happened with this horse where his breeder, Sienna Farms, they kept RNAing him at like $300,000, $400,000 in the sales. Even as a 3-year-old earlier in the year in April, after the Woodhaven Stakes, they put him in. Nobody wanted to buy him. They sent him to Brendan Walsh for the Mystic Lake Derby. Has an okay effort. They put him back in his sale. This time he's purchased for $200,000 by people who agree to keep him with Brendan Walsh. Walsh sends him to Del Mar for the Oceanside. Terrible trip. Doesn't work out. Now we're going to add blinkers here, and we're cutting back to the shortest distance this horse has run in over a year. You got to go back to August 2021, the Soaring Free Stakes. Went 6.5 at Woodbine, finished third after setting the pace. A race before that, 7.5 at Indiana, which I believe is 2 turns, but going 7.5 was a very strong winner. So the horse has shown flashes of ability, does have that stakes win at Tampa early in the 3-year-old season as well. I'm adding blinkers. I'm getting a great price, and I'm getting a jockey in Vince Cheminade, who's shown, like I said, he probably would when we had the Thursday preview show last week, that he can handle riding in Kentucky Downs. So all of those factors at 30 to 1. If something really crazy happens and Big Invasion doesn't fire, all hell's going to break loose. I want a long shot.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to talk you off 30 to 1 shot. This horse won in the Atchison barn over the turf, so that's a positive, right? Look, I didn't use the horse. You need to run back to that one race. You need something to happen, Big Invasion, but if both those happen, then Heaven Street has a shot. I've seen worse 30 to 1s. We'll put it that way. Oh,
I'm pretty sure I picked worse 30 to 1s.
Head-to-head bet? 30 to 1 versus 30 to 1? Come on. I'm back here. We can do a bottle of tequila again.
Teano.
Ah.
Hang on. Let me look. Teano.
Tiano Twist for
Let me think about it.
Head to head.
Let me think about it.
Think about it. What do you need to think about?
Listen, I'm a thinker here.
You mocked me for taking Tiano Twist, and you picked the 4 Heaven Street, and you have to think about it.
Listen, Heaven Street hasn't lost to our Lord and Savior Epicenter yet, so still got that going on for him. Mike Olson says asymmetric is going to be 4-1 off that 8-1. Boy, I hope not. But listen, that goes further to what Mike you were just saying about not wanting to use it for the price.
Yeah, look, that to me is the big issue here. Is like, and that's why like Heaven Street at 30-1, I don't think is a bad horse to use if you're trying to beat Big Invasion, because you want to come up with a big, crazy horse in a lot of ways. That's why, like I mentioned, Coinage is 15-1, cutting back. But to me, it's just like, look, we've seen asymmetric not get the job done twice in a row here. He's gonna take money with Ward and Irad. They're both having a good meet over at Kentucky Downs. So like, I just don't see how this horse doesn't end up being overbet into Big Invasion. And if I like Big Invasion, I'm not going to try and play the first and second favorites in the race. I'm going to try and play the favorite and some bomb of a price to try and blow the thing up, because this could chalk out. We've said it a couple of times. This is a sequence at Kentucky Downs. It's rare that it does have pretty heavy favorites. I say that, and we've got a 1-5 shot right now that Magic wanted to make his best bet of the day.
God, I can never live that. I asked 2 people, is this okay? You both said yes. Okay.
To be fair, we didn't know the scratches when we said yes.
That's true.
And neither did you when you picked the horse. So
yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about Kentucky Downs on Saturday, September 10th. Remember, if you want to bet Kentucky Downs, make sure you use BetPTC. Sign up using promo code DUDES, DUDES, for a $200 new member bonus after you bet $750. That's BetPTC.com, promo code DUDES. We got our tickets down below. We'll give them out one last time. I'll start off going 2, 5, 12 with 1, 4, 8, with 6, 10, with 4, 5, 6, 10. That's a $36 ticket. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket, only $24 this time. Give me the 5, 7, 9, 10 with 4, 8, with 3, 7, 10, with 3, 6 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $24. That's hopefully we can get a bomb home in a couple of these legs and beat a Rest Me Red, and then we can have a little fun with this thing.
I mean, even if you get 1 bomb or 2 bombs, if you get 2 chalk and then 2 not chalk, or you get 3 chalk and 1 bomb, this thing's going to pay. You just got to find that right combination to try and connect on. Mike, before we go, we didn't get a chance to talk about Dudes Who Bet Daily today, which, by the way, you should check out noon Eastern every Wednesday through Sunday on the YouTube channel. But we didn't get to talk about our Super Bowl picks. The NFL starts tonight, and I want to get in our picks before the season officially kicks off. So who are you going with to win the Super Bowl this year? I'm
going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. I have some defensive concerns. I think that they are going to be on a FU mission this season. I think you're going to see a very, very pissed off Chiefs team based on everything that is not being said about them. You look at the experts' picks, Buffalo. I think you're going to have a pissed off Chiefs team about what happened against Cincinnati last year. You have all this talk about Herbert in the division, and Russell Wilson's in the division now, and the Raiders are on the come up getting Devontae Adams. No one's talking about the Chiefs. They're talking about how they lost Tyreek Hill and they're going to be down because of it. You're going to see a pissed off Chiefs team. I think Mahomes is a very logical MVP, very live MVP option at anywhere from 8 to 8.5 to 1. And I think they're going to be very, very good. The NFC, who they will play, is wide open. I don't believe in the Bucs. I think that has just implosion written all over it. The Rams, I think, are going to have a hard time getting back. They're going to need amazing injury luck again this year, not lose anybody. The NFC, like, you look at the NFC Central, like, do you really want to take the Vikings? Do you want the Packers? Like, you're not taking anyone from the East. So I'm going to go Vikings. I'll go Chiefs Vikings as my Super Bowl. But the NFC is wide open. It could be crazy. Someone we're not even talking about could win it. The AFC is going to be stacked. The AFC playoffs are going to be phenomenal.
So looking at from Dennis's chat, it said Aaron and Jared both went the 49ers versus the Chiefs. Aren't the 49ers starting a rookie quarterback this year?
A second-year quarterback, but don't worry, he played 4 games in college. Yeah, they're starting Trey Lance. Now, to be fair, the last time we saw Shanahan with a rushing quarterback was RG3's rookie season, and he was phenomenal, makes the playoffs, blows out his knee that year in the playoffs, or else we don't know how far they would have gone. And Trey Lance is much more built than RG3 is. So you're going to see a lot of those Washington-style plays that Shanahan was calling in this San Francisco system. My problem is, look, I watched Trey Lance every single snap of this preseason. I would rather have me throwing the football than him right now. And if it was the preseason, so you could see a completely different turnaround. But from a passing perspective, I just have not been impressed with Trey Lance.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on the 49ers there. That's a guy who played one season in North Dakota State. He's going to lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl in his first year as a starter. No, thank you. I'm actually going to pass on the Chiefs. Now, I do like the Chiefs. That's not a bad pick. I think the AFC Conference Championship is definitely a realistic goal for them. Don't call me a homer. I'm sitting here wearing the Rams jersey.
You're not a Rams fan, so I can't call you a homer.
The Super Bowl is staying in Los Angeles. Yeah. It's staying at SoFi Stadium, but not with the Rams. The Chargers are my pick to win the Super Bowl this year. I think Justin Herbert, third year, this is when he's going to peak. This is like a horse that's in its prime, third off the bench, like aiming right at this big race there. The defense, I think, has been improved. The offense is looking pretty good. Doing some research for my fantasy draft, I was like, I think the Chargers are looking very good. They also opened it. I think they were 28-1. And they're down to like 16-1, 14-1 in a lot of markets. So they're catching a lot of steam as the season's about to start. So I'm going to go San Diego, and I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to face them, or sorry, San Diego, LA Chargers versus the Green Bay Packers. But I think Green Bay was a Super Bowl when you and I were kids, wasn't it? We'll have to look that up. I want to say that the Chargers and Packers actually played each other for the Super Bowl once.
Possible. I mean, I know the Chargers always choked it off. Like with
there was like 1 or 2 years
when they had Tomlinson and Breeze, and they were like, yeah, but they went like 13-3 or 12-4 back-to-back years, and they never got to the Super Bowl. They choked it off in the first round or in the conference finals, I think it was. Those 2 years.
All right. Well, listen, the Packers come out of what I think is traditionally the worst division in football, so I always think they're going to have a pretty easy ride through the season. Old man Aaron Rodgers, if you can stop pissing people off enough through 17 games to keep the team together, I think they got a great chance.
I don't like this Packers team. They lost Darius Smith, which is one of their main key pass rushers on defense. He's in Minnesota. You've got all these wide receivers that are just massive question marks. We're going to see. Aaron Rodgers is going to earn his paycheck this year because there is no Devontae Adams to go to. And when you didn't have Devontae Adams, he did struggle a little bit in getting the ball to the other receivers. I'm going to be interested to see how good Dobbs is. It's a rookie wide receiver that there's a lot of talk about in camp. See if he's able to step forward and kind of get the job done for them. I like the Vikings to win that division, though. I think that offense is going to be scary by middle of the year because they've got a ton of talent. Justin Jefferson, probably the best offensive player, non-quarterback in the NFL. Thielen's healthy right now. We'll see how long that lasts. You got Delvin Cook. Kirk Cousins, whatever you want to feel about him, he can distribute the ball when they're wide open receivers and he's not getting too much pressure, and he shouldn't be on his back very often. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in that division. I don't trust the Packers this year. I think this is going to be where it starts to fall apart a little bit for him.
What a compliment for a quarterback. He can throw the ball pretty well to wide open receivers when he's not getting much pressure.
But he's got wide open receivers. Look, Carson Wentz would love me to say that about him, okay? Like, there's definitely other people that other quarterbacks that do not fit that bill. I mean, Joe Flacco is starting week 1. Like, let's just think about that for a second. Yeah.
Super Bowl winning quarterback. Joe Flacco,
a decade ago.
University of Delaware.
Correct.
Random. Hey, listen, we're gonna get out of here before the race goes off. It's 10 minutes to the post. Sharp as attack is 1-5. You have a clear second choice, the 5 horse at 5-2 Private Creed. I saw Jalen was talking about, and Dennis, both of them talking about it there. Sharp as attack, your winner here, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way to get this horse beat was a speed duel. When the 8 came out of this race, half a chance, that kind of ruined that possibility. I do think that the 4 is a logical second place horse. Getting 2-1 right now in the exacta. I mean, I know it sucks, but 2-1 cold seems pretty. 2-1 for the cold 2-5 actually seems pretty fair to me because I don't think the 2 is losing in this spot, and the 5 is clearly the second best horse in this spot. So if I was going to bet this race, if I was in a tournament, something like that, I would be playing 2-5 cold and hope to get 2.5, 3-1. Because look, if I told you I had a guaranteed 5-2 winner at Kentucky Downs, you'd be ecstatic. But when someone tells you it's a cold exacta and it's a 1-5 over a 5-2, you're like, oh, that's an easy one. Like, it still pays 5-2, man. Like, that's still not a bad price to get back. So yeah, I would probably just hammer the cold exacta here because I don't think anyone goes with sharp as attack. And the 4 horse I think is a pretty clear second choice.
Michael Austin says pound to that 2-5 exact. And listen, Michael's a sharp better. You don't get suspenders and ties and watches that sharp making terrible bets on horse races. All right. That's how you pay for those. You pay for that nice attire like that with making sharp horse bets. Thanks so much for joining us. Good luck if you're playing Kentucky. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Before we do that, you're wearing a Rams jersey. You want to talk about tonight's game?
Sure.
Who you got? Who you got? Buffalo laying 2.5 right now at home against the Rams, or on the road against the Rams.
Ooh, I'll take Buffalo.
Ooh, I like your.
I think they're gonna be pretty fired up to come into this game.
I expect a good performance from both of them. You've got new offensive coordinators on both sides, although it's kind of fake on the Rams side because McVay calls the plays anyway. Player prop that I really like. Okay, Allen Robinson coming into this game. He was in Jacksonville. He was in Chicago. Had terrible quarterbacks thrown to him. Had awful offensive situations. He's going to be the number one wide receiver for the Rams. Cooper Kupp plays out of the slot, so he's going to be on the outside. I don't know if you've noticed what's happening right now with the cornerbacks in Buffalo, but it ain't pretty, right? So they're without their top cornerback, Tre'Davious White. They're going to be starting Dane Jackson on one side, who graded as the 82nd best quarterback last year in the NFL, according to PFF, and a rookie out of Florida on the other side. That's their starting two. A
7th-round pick and a rookie out of Florida. Okay, I'm going to pick the Rams.
So now their safeties are phenomenal. That's the one argument. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a safeties coming down and doubling Kupp. Allen Robinson is a wide receiver who is big. He's going to be a red zone target for them. And to me, the other key here is that McVay, when he got Odell Beckham, fed him the ball in the red zone. Now you're going to see the same thing from Allen Robinson. It's the same type of resurrection project from a wide receiver position. And both Beckham and Robinson had that same mentality where I need the ball to be engaged. McVay is going to give him the ball early in this game. I think anytime touchdown plus 145 is a good bet. I like the over 61.5 receiving yards. It might have ticked up today to 64.5 in a couple places. I think you're going to see a couple deep shots to him. I think you're going to see multiple red zone attempts thrown to him. And I like the Rams in the 2.5. I'm still hoping I can get 3 before kickoff, but I like the Rams in this spot.
Yeah, you were mentioning before. I remember on the Dudes Who Bet Daily this morning that if it gets to 3, Thor's hammer might come out. So you're gonna have to bring out Mjolnir.
You can buy it up right now, but it's minus 135 if you buy it up. Where I've seen it if possible. Minus 135 to buy it to 3. So if you want to do that, you can. If you're a teaser person, I don't hate Buffalo as a long teaser leg here because you're going from 2.5 to 8.5. You're going through 3. You're going through 4. You're going through 6. You're going through 7. And there's a couple other teaser games. Like I love Seattle. I love Denver as a teaser to beat Seattle. Just beat them. You basically going from 6.5 down to a half point there. You can take the Colts from 7.5 down to a 1.5 against the Texans, who they should be able to absolutely roll. They blew them out twice last year. It was like 31-0 and 31-3 in those 2 games. So there's a handful of games that I think fit as teaser legs, and I think this Rams one, even though the total's high, I don't generally love to play high total teasers. I think it fits pretty well here. You also have Cincinnati at home. You know, Trubisky starting for Pittsburgh. Cincinnati's laying 6.5, so you can get that one down to a half point as well. So a lot of good different teaser leg options. Even Minnesota, you can tease from plus 1.5 all the way to plus 7.5. So this is one where I'm probably going to start out 2 or 3 teasers here with the Rams taking them from 2.5 up to 8.5.
Jason's got Rams money line. The chat is all over the Rams. That's pretty nice. Davey says, "Why is Buffalo so hyped all of a sudden?" They were finished pretty strong last year, and you've got an improving young quarterback. I think the hype is a little too high on them at this point. I think we've peaked and coming back down.
Yeah, I mean, you got great receiving core, right? Gabe Davis kind of had a coming out party there in that AFC title game, or AFC basically felt like the title game, ended up not even being that, but the quarterfinal game there against the Chiefs. Then you have 2 of the best safeties on the defensive side of the ball, strong defensive line, good linebackers. They sit in nickel a lot, so you see Milano quite a bit in the slot or against the tight end. He's one of the better coverage linebackers in the NFL. They shored up their offensive line, brought in 3 new starters. So that's one area of this game to watch is Aaron Donald against a newer offensive line for Buffalo that could wreak some havoc. And then they brought in Cook, a new rookie running back who's supposed to be very good out of the backfield from a catching perspective. They struggled with that the last couple of years. So they've got outside of cornerback, and when Tre'Davious White is healthy, their cornerback position is actually pretty good. But outside of cornerback, this roster is very well built. So they're deserving from that perspective because, you know, like if you talk about the top talent lineups, I would say right now in the NFL are Tampa Bay, but they're very weak at offensive line. So that makes me very concerned about them. The Chargers that you mentioned have a wonderful lineup. and then Buffalo. I mean, those to me are the three most built out. And the Rams are good. They just got to stay healthy again. Like, they're just not deep, right? I mean, that's the main thing. You lose, like, you saw what. I'm not worried about the elbow, man. I know Stafford's elbow, tennis elbow, all this jazz. Might need Tommy John surgery. Look, betting him tonight, I'm especially not worried, right? But like, you saw what happened in the Super Bowl when their wide receivers went down. It was Cooper Kupp or nothing, right? And they didn't really address that because it's Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and then like they're talking about starting Atwell, who's this little speedy guy out of Louisville at the other outside position. He's like 5'6". He's tiny. Like, he's not an outside wide receiver. So that's a big hole for the Rams.
Every 5'6" guy listening just felt a little bit smaller. Mike, thanks for that.
Well, look at me. Like, there are not many 5'6" wide receivers. That's all I'm saying. Playing the outside in the NFL. True. They're more the herky jerky slot guys, not the outside guys going up for 50-yard bombs.
Nick with his block of the week, it's Bengals -6.5 hosting the Steelers. Yeah, Steelers are. That's Mitch Trubisky. Good luck, and good luck to Steelers fans everywhere. It was fun to be on that bandwagon, and now I'm firmly aboard the LA Rams.
Yeah, I would definitely say what Jason said here too. This is important to me. You should definitely shop around with it. With how much legalized gambling has moved forward here in a lot of different states, there's some awesome promotions right now. Talking like $2,000 worth of free bets that you can sign up for, and if you want to be really sneaky, you can sign up for all these different promotions and then bet the opposite side of games. So bet, Atlanta plus 5.5 in one place and the Saints minus 5.5 in another, and guarantee yourself the cash. If you're getting a $2,000 free bet in both places, all of a sudden you got $4,000 in your account and you don't have any stipulations against it. So there's ways to be very creative to try and take advantage of these free bets. There's actually a couple of videos on YouTube about how to do it too.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day. Don't forget, Mike Somich will be live later tonight with Saratoga Slim. What time are you? It's the halftime show. What time are you going live, buddy?
So the game kicks off at 8:20. We're guessing it's going to be about 9:45. We're calling it the Slim and Samo Thursday night halftime bet-a-palooza. So Slim's going to be giving out prop bets from over the weekend. I'm going to be giving out a couple of my best bets across the NFL. We'll be talking about the first half of this Rams-Bills game and giving out what we're going to play in the second half as well, and talk about how the game shape is turning out so that we're able to figure out who we want to play in the second half. So make sure you check it out as soon as that halftime goes up. What are you doing? You just go there. As soon as that halftime goes up, come on over to YouTube and join us on the Race Dudes channel.
This is it. This is the video. It's up there. You can go wait now, hang out in the chat. There's a couple of people already waiting, which is okay. Hey, I mean, if you want to wait, that's cool. But yeah, it'll be there. Make sure you check out those guys and make sure you like the video, subscribe to youtube.com/racingdudes, hit the notification bell. You'll get alerted whenever we go live, blinkers off, all of the NFL stuff. So if you're into sports betting in the NFL, we've got a lot of content coming to you as we ramp up towards the season. Good luck with all of your bets. Mike and I will be back next week on Monday to talk about something fun, I'm sure. But until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.